What's going on, guys? My name is Cody and I'm a graphic designer. Today I want to spend some time to talk about how we can build a brand in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, use those softwares to sort of create a look and feel for a product, for a brand, and then use Adobe Xd to create an interactive prototype that might be, a homepage hero slider for this brand. So essentially we're creating the building blocks so that we can then go into Xd and piece everything together and make an actual fluid prototype or a homepage hero slider that you might see on somebody's website. So I think with this tutorial, I just really want to create a design that's fresh, that's vibrant, that's fun to look at, really can draw people into this product, really explore some of Adobe XD's features. So the other day I was at True Food Kitchen, which if you haven't been there, it's an awesome healthy food restaurant. They have a bunch of cool stuff. But I've been there plenty of times, and I was looking at their drink menu, their beverages, and they have a bunch of cool juices and lemonades and a bunch of neat stuff here. But I saw this new item on the menu, this matcha horchata, which I've had horchata before because my grandpa used to make it when I was a kid all the time, and they serve it at Mexican restaurants and taco shops and stuff. It's like a rice drink. But I've also had matcha, which is I think it's a green tea that they blend into lattes and stuff like that. So I've had it in that format, but I never had the two combined, which I thought was interesting. And they got oat milk and cinnamon and vanilla. It was actually really good, and it actually retains that green color from the matcha. So I thought this was a sort of a cool concept, and I'd never seen it anywhere else. And I don't know, it's kind of been in my mind. I kind of want to go back to get this drink again, but I thought we could use this as a concept for our product in our hero slider that we're going to design today. So I went and found this this mock-up. It's a juice bottle mock-up. You can go to graphicpair.com. They've got a bunch of great resources, and they actually allow you to download this for free. But what I was thinking is that we can come in here, download this, and then make our own sort of matcha horchata kind of bottled beverage that, it'll be our fake brand that we're going to use to kind of concept a hero slider. So let's go ahead and download this link. All right, so we've got our mock-up open here. We've got our orange juice, which is not going to be orange juice. We're going to make this a matcha horchata. So we need to make this juice look like it's green. So if we come into this layer right here, or this group of layers, you can come into juice color. We'll double click this. This is a smart object. So basically if I make any change to this file, it'll update it in the previous file here. So they're basically linked together. So let's turn this little eyeball on, and we can just change this color fill. So you can make it blue. We got some avatar looking blue, or we can go down to green, which is what we want. And we need to find a good matcha color. That's a little too green for me. I think it needs to be more a muted green. Something in here. Let's see how that looks. So let's just go to File, Save. Let's go back to our bottle. You'll see it's loading, it's updating it. Cool. We might tweak that later. Right now it looks okay for me. But what I wanted to do for this label, I'm thinking our design can just be sort of a line art, line illustration. That way you can just see the color of the matcha right off the shelf. So minimal kind of just line art that the color of the juice kind of bleeds through the design. I think that would be kind of cool. Just because I've seen that around, in a few shops. I always like that they let the actual liquid itself kind of be the selling point. Is that you see that green bottle on the shelf, you're gonna want to pick that up. So let's do something with minimal design and just something that really lets the actual product shine. All right, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to find out what size this label is, because that's where our design is gonna go. So let's go ahead and click into this label design. And I'm just gonna grab my my selection tool, my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just gonna drag kind of roughly just to see what this size is. So it looks like we're around about a width of 700 and a height of about 1650. So let's go into Illustrator, go to File, New, and let's make a new document at, what did I say? 700 and 1650. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just we're gonna be able to scale our design on the actual mock-up, but at least we know this is roughly our area of design for the juice bottle. All right, matcha horchata. We need to come up with a name for this. I'm thinking something short and sweet, so that as you're glancing down the aisle or in your food store or whatever place that you would purchase this, you just have a clear kind of like bold brand name. Like it's gonna be delicious. It's gonna be delicious matcha horchata. So maybe there's something, maybe like rico. Like I think rico means delicious in Spanish. Let's double check on that. I need to learn more Spanish. I'm half Mexican, but I don't really speak it enough. So rico, like they say, que rico. Rico in Spanish. My mom would probably be upset with me because she was actually my Spanish teacher in 2nd grade, so I should know this. Delicious, yeah, delicioso. All right, cool. We'll go with rico because it's short and sweet and it kind of sounds cool. So let's grab our text tool and let's just type in rico. Should we just go with that? That looks great, right? No, we're gonna make this look better. Let's see what we got here for some fonts. It's kind of cool. Make sure we center align our text. That's kind of interesting. It might be a little too sharp though. What else do we got? I'm just trying to find something that to me looks cool. This Cubano looks kind of cool. It's pretty bold. What about this Lugina? It's a little thin. Kind of like that. You know what? Maybe we even just go with like a K, just to be different. Rico. I like the look of that K. It's our brand. We can do whatever we want with it, you know. That's cool. And then we could go with like a subtitle. Let's just say organic horchata. And I'm just gonna bring this down quite a bit. It's taking forever. Let's just type in like 30. And I'm gonna select them both holding shift. And I'm just gonna make sure they're center aligned to each other. Okay. I might space these out, current them out a little bit, holding Option or Alt, and then my right arrow. Just give it a little bit of breathing room. Might do the same for this, just a little bit. All right. So let's just test this on our bottle just so you can see how this is gonna go down. We're gonna turn this off and this. We don't need those anymore. I'm just gonna paste in my smart object. Let's just scale this down. And I'm gonna double click on this and make it white. So let's go to color overlay, go to white. And again, I'm just gonna show you really quickly how this gets transferred onto the bottle. So we'll save. And there you go, see, it's on the bottle. But let's go back to our Illustrator file. Remember how I said I kind of wanted like the design, like I wanted the juice to bleed through the design? Maybe if we made this like a stroke, that could happen more. So let's go like a black stroke. That's kind of cool. That way it's just like an outline and the juice just literally like bleeds through that text. All right. So now I want to add some kind of like just cool minimal design element that we could have maybe at the bottom of this. So the green itself is going to draw people in. The bold name is going to draw people in, but maybe there's some sort of like unique or just, interesting design element that we can use that's maybe repeated. So I'm thinking like maybe just some cool little like zigzags. I'm a fan of zigzags. So I'm going to grab my line tool and I'm going to make my stroke at about, let's go to 4. Turn this fill off. And let's just drag across here, holding shift as we do it to keep it straight. And I'm just gonna kind of move it over. If we go to effect and we go to distort and transform, there's our zigzag. Let's turn preview on so we can see what we're doing here. And I'm just gonna play around with the size of this. I want it to be kind of like a pretty drastic up and down angular zigzag. Let's add a few more segments here. That's kind of cool. Maybe the size is a little too much. 20 looks all right. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. I'm just gonna hold Alt and Shift, make a duplicate right there, and then if you hit Command D a few times, we'll make perfect duplicates there. See, that's already looking kind of cool. Maybe there's like a container around all this, so we can kind of frame our label a little bit. And I'm doing this with my rectangle tool. Alright, let's get rid of this top segment. So in order to do that, I'll have to add another point in the middle. And then delete that point. Now we got to make sure that these corners are joined a little bit better. So I'm going to click on this one and just go to Object and Expand Appearance. So it makes it editable. And let's see. Just make sure that these are connected. And if I select both of them, hit Command J, it should join them. There we go. I think I'm gonna round these corners though, to kind of match our font. See how these are kind of like a rounded edges? We want the same thing for our line art here. So if you grab it and go to Stroke, let's just click on these guys, the caps in the corners. So now it's like a rounded corner there. We'll probably have to select these as well so that they retain that same rounded corner. So I'm just clicking this with Shift. Let's go back into our stroke. There we go. Now you can see they're all rounded. And we'll do the same for this guy right here. There we go. And then so now maybe like down here is where we put the actual like product description. So like we know it's organic horchata. So let's just duplicate our text, Alt and Shift, bring it down. This is where we can put the flavor of the particular beverage. So this one will be the matcha. Maybe we do like another one so that in our hero slider we can toggle between 2 different flavors. So I don't know what that second one's gonna be yet, but you know, some other flavor. But for now, let's just go with the matcha. And maybe we make a little container for this guy. Just kind of seeing what looks good. I'm gonna grab my eyedropper to match the same stroke. And let's just grab both of these, make sure that they're aligned center. It's kind of always gonna zoom out just to see how things are looking. Might shrink it down a little bit. So there's definitely like a hierarchy going on here. We got the title, the subtitle, and then the flavor. Again, I'm just trying to make something down here that looks like there's a little bit of texture, a little bit of some kind of cool, you know, pattern illustration going on. Maybe I add like a line down here. Just seeing what works and what doesn't work. That's kind of cool. We have a very centered design right now, so it's almost like you see the title, you see the subtitle, and then this line kind of directs you down towards this flavor descriptor here. And maybe we even have like a little like the ounces. What is this, like 16 ounces or something? Just make it kind of small. I don't know. Maybe it's 12 ounces. Okay, but this is kind of cool. Like, it's very minimal. Let's add maybe some more lines. Yeah, your eyedropper will sample the same like stroke weight, which is kind of nice. I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's like a little tag, you know, just a little flavor tag. So let's just test this real quick just to see how it's reading on our bottle. I always like to kind of just go back and forth and just see what's going on as I'm concepting. I'll just make sure that we have the color overlay as white. Let's save this bad boy. Okay, cool. This is working. This is working. I think the juice needs to be a little bit darker though. All right, so this is looking pretty good. It's coming together. I think we can add some sort of like visual interest up here. Maybe some sort of icon or badge. You know, maybe there's like a logo icon for the brand, just to kind of give it a little bit more pizzazz. So let's go back into Illustrator. And I like the idea of everything being very center aligned. So I think it's just gonna go up here in the middle. So I'm gonna grab my shape tool and go into, let's do a polygon. And see how you have a little smart guide that kind of just shows you where the center of the document is? We're gonna start there, click, and hold shift as we make this. Just to kind of make it perfectly scaled. And again, I'm gonna grab my eyedropper tool, sample my stroke, so we get those rounded edges in the same 4-point stroke. And I'm just gonna rotate this, holding shift. That's cool. What could we make our icon? So Rico, it's like a Mexican horchata. Maybe do like a little palm tree or something. I'm gonna grab my pen tool. Let's just play with these points here. Alright, so after some tinkering, this is what I came up with. Cool little like abstract like palm tree kind of thing. Yeah, this will serve as like our logo for this Rico brand. Maybe we give this a little bit more of like some movement of some sort. So let's come to our arch tool, our arc preview. Yeah, something like this. Maybe like a 15, negative 15. This is where you just kind of play around, see what looks right, experiment. I might add a little line break between these guys. Just sample my other one just to make sure it has the rounded segments on the end. Maybe we do another one down here. That's kind of cool. Maybe we have a little like made in California or San Diego. Let's see, SD, California, Cali. It's kind of nice little abbreviation there. All right, let's see how this looks on our juice bottle, or I should say matcha bottle. Matcha, horchata, machata. Let's go into this file, we'll delete that one, and we'll just paste this in as a smart object. Let's scale this down a little bit. Let's apply our color overlay, and let's hit save. That's looking kind of cool. I think it could be bigger though. Let's just max this out. Save again. I'm liking that. See, like, it's really simple line work. It's very minimal, but at the same time, there's a lot of texture going on, and you know, you're letting the juice or the beverage itself, the liquid, kind of speak for the brand. Like, it's really just playing off that color, the green. And so when we do like another flavor, maybe it's like an orange or purple or something, like that's gonna be really cool to see them all kind of next to each other. So now what we can do is just duplicate this artboard so that we can make our other flavor. So we go to edit artboards. We're gonna hold Alt or Option and drag this over with Shift. And it's basically gonna be the same thing, but the flavor is gonna be different. So we'll just come down to here to matcha. I'm thinking a nice contrast to the green will be like an orange. So maybe there's like a ginger or turmeric. Those both probably sound kind of terrible. Maybe turmeric, just because ginger and horchata might be kind of nasty. Turmeric. You can't really taste turmeric, I don't think. Is that how you spell it? Turmeric? Turmeric? So go turmeric, and then I'll just move these lines over a little bit. Give it some space. There. So now we have our turmeric label. And I'm going to go back to my Photoshop file. Let's just duplicate this. So image, duplicate. We'll just make a new file. And we'll go into our juice color. We will make this kind of like some kind of orange. Whoa. Hit OK. File save. Okay, see, that looks pretty sweet. Now let's just make sure that we have our new artwork. So let's go to label design. Grab our turmeric. Somebody correct me on how I'm saying that. Turmeric. And let's just paste on top. Oh, that was like the perfect paste. And then let's just make sure it's white. Turn our other one off and file save. Close these. And there's our turmeric horchata. So let's go ahead and open up Adobe Xd and let's start a new document. Let's go ahead and make a size of 1920 by 1080. So this is our screen size that we're working with, and you can actually turn your grids on here. We can go gutter width about 30. It's always nice to have a grid like this so that when you're designing you can kind of at least have some sort of, backbone or skeleton to your design. You can toggle that on and off if you just click on the canvas and come over here to your grid section and just turn this little checkbox on and off. So this whole box here will be what we see on screen. Like maybe when you land on the website, this will be the homepage hero. So it'll basically be the first impression of the brand. So we want to have some strong branding in the left here, and we want our bottle to kind of sit in this hero slider. So to start, I'm just going to drag my matcha bottle in here just to kind of get an idea of placement and size. It's kind of big, but we'll just shrink this down. And I'm just kind of, roughly kind of placing this just so I can get an idea of like where it's going to sit on the page. And if you click play up here in the right hand corner, you can kind of see, all right, this is our design. This is what we're working with. I'm going to turn my grid off for now just so I can see what I'm doing, because I'm going to make a like sort of background container for this product to sort of sit in front of. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and I'm just going to drag all the way across. I'm going to turn this border off. And let's just make sure this rectangle is below our matcha bottle. And I'm just going to call it background container. So what I'm thinking would be cool is if we actually had like a background color block that essentially is sampled from the same green as this bottle. So it'd sort of be like a green on green design, just because I really want to push that vibrancy of the actual liquid of the product. So let's go ahead and go to our fill and grab our eyedropper and just sample this green. And I've been playing around a lot lately with this sort of like overlay style where you have, layers kind of like overlapping like this. So it kind of looks like that Rico bottle is really just like popping off the page a little bit more. Sort of like you're just playing with depth and perspective. And I don't know, I just think it looks kind of dynamic. But we'll see how it kind of plays out in the design. But for now, I'm liking this idea of it like sitting above this background color. So this is looking cool. I like this green on green sort of thing that's going on here. I actually want to make this design sort of have like a white border, just because I'm looking at this like white cap and the white sort of like line art. It'd be cool if there's a little bit of like separation on the edges, just because I don't know, I think it'd be nice to have a little bit of like space and just sort of like contrast, and it'll kind of play in with the color scheme that we got going on. So what I'm gonna do is double click on this rectangle and I'm gonna grab these 2 points holding shift, and I'm just gonna click in 1, 2, 3. So we're 30 pixels in. We do the same with this top one and this top one. Come down 1, 2, 3. And we'll just repeat the same thing on the edges. 1, 2, 3. So that's 30 pixels all around. But see what I'm saying? Like it kind of has a nice little, here, I guess if I go to the plane mode, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Yeah, see this little border kind of just plays off this cap a little bit and just like the white of the actual design itself. So since this is our hero slider, we want to have some sort of messaging that kind of tells us what we're looking at. You know, like if you land on this website for the first time, you don't know what this Rico brand is, you sort of need like a descriptor, some sort of messaging that will indicate, you know, this is what this is. So I'm gonna grab my text tool and let's just drag in some text and let's just say what it is. It's matcha horchata. So I'm gonna type that in. And we need that to be a lot bigger. So I might go to like let's just try 100 for now. And let's grab our Lugina text to be consistent. I think it was heavy. And let's just make sure we kern this out a little bit, give it some breathing room. I'm thinking we go bigger actually, maybe 200. I want this to be very bold and just, I don't know, like right away you know exactly what you're looking at, you know what I mean? So play around with the spacing, maybe 200. 230. It's not bad. And right away, I don't like this gray. That's just what it was at default. Let's try the white. It's kind of cool. But we might as well be consistent since we've been doing this like stroke look and feel. Let's try that. Let's take the fill off and go with the border. And maybe bring the size up to about what, 3? Maybe 4? See, now they're kind of playing well together. But I almost feel like this is overpowering the design of the bottle a little bit, just because, I don't know, they're very close in color. I might sample the same green and just kind of come around here somewhere. That's kind of fun. It kind of pops a little bit. But now we can actually add like a subtitle. I'm just going to duplicate this, bring this size down to about, I don't know, 40. And I think for the subtitle, we don't need to go with the stroke. We could just go with the fill. Bring this text box back in a little bit. Maybe like a 30. And maybe there's a little bit more description here. You know, combining 2 of your favorite flavors. So we're doing a little education here. You know, you can land on this page. You're like, okay, matcha horchata, combining 2 of your favorite flavors. All right, I get it. There's a story being told here. Because you want to like give everybody that's coming to your site, you know, a little bit of a download on like what's going on, what they're looking at here. Because this is definitely like a new, sort of a new thing that maybe they haven't seen. So we're just going to be up front and just tell them what it is. And since we have these little lines going on, maybe we add a little line. So I'm going to grab my line tool, just draw that in, make that white. And let's go up to about 4. And we'll also add the little rounded cap just to be consistent. So we're basically like taking the elements from the actual product and we're bringing them into this layout so that everything kind of feels like a family, like they're united. Really what I'm trying to do is just make a visual cohesion in this design so that anybody that comes to this brand, whether maybe they saw an Instagram post or a billboard or what have you, everything looks like it was using the same elements, the same design system, so that, you know, that's really what branding is you're creating this look and feel that people can be familiar with, that they can, you know, identify with pretty clearly, so that anytime you see these elements combined together, you're like, okay, that's the Rico brand. All right, so this is coming together. We've got some text, we've got a little line element. We're starting to play off this product, which is nice. Let's actually group all these together. And we'll call it text. Speaking of using design elements from the product, why don't we take some of these zigzags and maybe throw it in as texture. So I'm gonna go back to my Illustrator file and just grab some of these lines. and just copy, Command C. Come back to XD and Command V, paste it in. Oh, we got a little bit of a messed up one right there, but as you can see, Illustrator and XD work really well together. You can just copy and paste elements, vectors from Illustrator into XD, which is really why I love working with this software, is because they're just so compatible with each other. But anyways, we'll group this and we'll call it zigzags. And I want these to be behind my matcha bottle. Maybe we scale it up a little bit. And I'm gonna sample the same color as the green. Maybe instead of going lighter like this, we go a little darker. So they're kind of like, you know, there's a little bit of hierarchy in the visuals that you're looking at. And here's where you just gotta kind of play around and see what works. I think a little bit of overlap like that doesn't hurt. I might even duplicate this a few more times. So copy, paste, bring it down. Maybe bring one up here. See, like already it's starting to look like, you know, an ad, or like if you're driving down the road, you see like a billboard, you'd be like, oh, matcha horchata, I've never heard of this. Like, it just really catches your eye because we're playing off that green color and just the simplicity of these shapes. All right, now I think it's time we add an actual like logo mark up here, just because, you know, like traditionally people read from left to right, so it's a good spot for it. Let's go ahead and jump into Illustrator and grab our logo. So this is sort of our little mark here. We're gonna grab this. We'll copy it. We'll come back to XD. And we'll paste it. Again, XD does a really good job at preserving your vectors. We'll just shrink this down. And let's go ahead and grab our text as well. Copy this. And we'll paste it in. And it's actually preserving, because I didn't actually outline this in Illustrator, so it's actually preserving the actual text, which is kind of cool. So I could probably just shrink this down to like 80. Bring this over. And let's go with like a 3-point for that as well. So there we kind of have our logo. I'm gonna group these together, right click, group. And we'll just say logo. And I think for this, we can actually like create a little bit of like a tag that kind of hangs off. So I'm gonna grab a rectangle tool and then just drag this in. Just because it's like I'm going back to the whole overlapping design style. Get rid of this border. And maybe because we have so much green and white, like maybe we can introduce like another color here, like just like a really dark kind of charcoaly color. And then we can throw our logo on top of this and invert it to a white color. That way it's like, there's definitely a hierarchy. Like the logo stands out quite a bit against this, you know, green background. And so this is kind of like a cool like tag element that could be used maybe in other places. Like maybe you have some signage outside of an actual store. Maybe there's like a Rico kind of pop-up shop. Maybe this is like the actual sign that's hanging outside. Maybe this is a tag on a t-shirt for some apparel. I don't know. I'm just like, when you're actually kind of like building a brand, you can kind of come up with these cool little treatments that can be, you know, reused in different areas. So I think that this is a fun way to kind of do that. So I'll go ahead and group this whole thing. We'll call this background. I'm gonna group my logo and my background. We'll just call this logo tag. And now we can actually put like a navigation up here. So let's just copy this text, Command C, Command V, bring this up. And let's just add some navigation items, maybe shop. I'm actually make this text box smaller. Make sure our text is center aligned. And I might bring this down to like a 18 point. Shop, our story, blog, what else? Contact, What else? Like careers. So that's good. We'll have some navigation items up here. If you select all these actually holding shift, let's actually distribute these evenly amongst each other so they're spaced out perfectly. This one right here. This one's called distribute horizontally. And there you go. So let's actually click all these and let's group them. And let's just call them nav links. It's important that you group your all your layers just because you want to keep everything organized, and you know, if we want to add some animation to this this slider, it's gonna come in handy later. So make sure that you set yourself up for success with your layout and your file. Maybe we actually put some social media icons up here too in the top right. So I think I have some in another project. Let's see. Yeah, okay. This is a project I've been working on with my friend Christina. She's an awesome like integrative pain therapist, I guess you could call her. But yeah, this is a fun little layout. But we have some, yeah, here's the social media icons that I use for this one. So I could just copy these vectors. Maybe we'll just do Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'll copy those and just bring them up here. That's actually a pretty good size. Yeah, so we have our navigation links. Let's just call this social icons. And I'm just gonna actually group it into my nav link just so it's all kind of together there. So there's our navigation. We've got this messaging. Maybe we have like a call to action button right here to like shop, you know? I'm just gonna actually drag a rectangle right here. Maybe the button overlaps this like area too, you know? Just really play with this overlapping kind of direction. Let's get rid of the border, and because this is a call to action, I kind of want it to stand out like a lot. You know, I want it to be something that is very visible so you know where to go. Something that's complementary to this green. Maybe we go to like this, like a orange, so sort of like burnt orange. We'll see. And then I'm just gonna copy one of these links and paste it on top of my button. Let's just put shop now. And then let's just center align it to the actual button here. So I'll go to my alignment up here, center align. And maybe we actually play off of this little tag as like our for our button. So I'm gonna copy this, Command C, Command V, it pasted it in place on top. We'll get rid of the fill. We'll give it a border, we'll give it a white border. Go to like 3. Let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. And I'm just gonna grab these corners on this side. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll do the same on the top and bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's moving at 5 pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're creating like a little bit of like a border there. And let's duplicate like these little lines. You know, let's add those lines here. We'll get one on this side. And then let's just make sure we group all this together. We'll call it BTN shop. So that's kind of fun. I might actually bring the stroke in a little bit more just so that there's a little bit more room here. That feels better, I think. So there's our little shop now button. All right, this is coming together. I think for sake of time though, I'm gonna add a few more elements. I'm just gonna speed up the video so you guys can get to the auto animate stuff a little bit quicker. I'm just gonna add some arrows here so that you can toggle between the different heroes, and then maybe some sort of illustrated icons here that maybe are like, you know, gluten-free, vegan, stuff like that. So I'll just go ahead and speed this up, and then we'll get to the auto animate. right, so I added in some arrows here on each side, and then I also added in these little icons just to kind of bring a little bit more personality to the brand, you know, some visual, kind of playing off of the same like octagon that we have here. So that could be like a branding element that you use consistently through the brand. All right, I think we're ready to add some interaction to this hero slider now. So basically what we want to happen is once I click on this little right arrow button, we want everything like this bottle, this title, even the background and the zigzags, we want those to slide off screen and make room for our turmeric elements to come in. So in order to do that, I'm gonna need to group every element that I want animated. So let's just do that. Let's go to text, matcha bottle, zigzags, background container. I'm gonna group all this. I think even the shop now button, let's put this next to that. And I'm gonna group all these, right click, group, and let's just call this matcha elements. This will help us stay, you know, organized, and so we know exactly what elements we're moving around. And I'll actually just call these button shop, matcha, text, matcha. We already have matcha bottle, so that's fine. And then let's go to zigzags, matcha, and then background container, matcha. This is just a way that I do it to stay organized, but you might have a different way of doing it. But all right, so now we need to duplicate this whole group. And this will be our turmeric elements. Basically what we're doing is creating a duplicate so that all of our little pieces are exactly in the same place. And I'm just gonna hide my matcha elements real quick. And this is where we're gonna make all of our changes. This is gonna be our second slider. So I'm gonna go in here and just call this turmeric. And I'm gonna bring in my actual turmeric bottle. And let's just scale this down. It's kind of big. And let's just make sure it's lined up to the other bottle that we already have. That's pretty close. And now we can get rid of the other bottle, this matcha bottle, since this is going to be our turmeric slider. And then let's rename these turmeric. And now we can change this background color. So I'm just going to select this, sample the same kind of like orange color from my turmeric, and then maybe even this I can pick a different color here. That's kind of cool, like a yellow. And then our zigzags. Bring these down a little bit. There, so that's our second slider, which is like basically the different product. And let's just put our matcha on top. Oh, look at our turmeric's a little big. How did I do that? Let's make sure we size this down. All right, that'll work. So what we need to do is, for this auto animate to work, we need to duplicate our artboard. You have to have at least 2 artboards to create a prototype in Xd. So we'll go over here to our title, and then let's just hold Alt or Option and bring this over. Now I like to give myself quite a bit of room between both artboards because you're gonna have stuff sliding off screen and you don't want it to bleed onto the other artboard. So this seems about right for what we're doing. And I need to select the element that I want to trigger this interaction. So in this case, I want this right arrow to do that. So we'll select that, come up to prototype, and drag this little blue arrow all the way to this artboard. The trigger is going to be tap because we're going to click. The action, yes, it's going to be auto animate. And our destination is the second artboard, which is Matcha 1. Ease in and out. Let's do like 1 second for delay. So now we need to tell Xd what we want to animate. In this case, we want everything that we grouped, so matcha elements, and we're just going to slide them off screen. So we can see how that looks right now. Let's go ahead and hit play. and it's just revealing what was already underneath it. So our turmeric was underneath it, but instead of it just revealing, we want this actually to slide in. So we have to go back to our first artboard, and let's just turn off matcha real quick so we can see our turmeric elements. But let's slide these off screen, and we're holding shift to keep this all like straight. Let's go ahead and turn our matcha back on. So now let's see what happens when we play this. See, look at that. Nice little slider. Try that again. That's pretty sweet. And if we want this arrow to take it back, we have to click this one, go to prototype, do the same thing, but just bring it back to that. Everything looks the same. Auto animate matcha, easy and is out. So now if I preview, look at that. Nice little slider we got going on. You can even get more creative and like maybe instead of the turmeric coming in from the right, maybe it comes in from the bottom. Let's just try this. That's kind of cool. We probably just need to make sure that our turmeric is above the matcha if that's gonna happen. Let's see if that works. There we go. So that's a fun little subtle animation. But yeah, Xd is just really fun to kind of mock up your brand concepts and really just add some interactivity. You know, very quickly have a prototype that you can show stakeholders or fellow designers and just really get a sense for what this brand's gonna look like and what's it gonna function like on the actual web. So yeah, hopefully you're able to learn something in this tutorial. I just think it's really cool that Photoshop, Illustrator, Xd, they're very integrated with each other, and you know, you're able to see how we could take a fresh new design from Illustrator, bring it into Photoshop, create our product mock-up, bring in the vectors and our product into Xd, and just how seamlessly all these softwares work together. So I just think it's really cool that we have this like cohesive system that is really easy to build concepts and mock-ups and things like that and prototypes. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon with more videos.